What if that nagging feeling in the back of your neck was real? What if those hands reaching out from the dark that you believed were there were there? What if the monster in the basement really existed? And what if there was really something under the bed? Would you have the courage to face your fears?
I never thought I'd be writing this on Reddit, but I need to document what's happening here in Miller's Creek before our cell phone service gives out completely. We're already down to one bar, and the landlines went dead yesterday. If anyone sees this, please send help. We're about 4 hours north of Spokane, population 847. Or at least, that was the count before people started dying. It began 3 days ago with Old Man Jenkins's cow. I was driving home from my shift at the lumber mill when I spotted the carcass in his field. The thing was torn apart like I'd never seen before. Not like a wolf or a mountain lion attack. The rib cage was completely exposed, but there wasn't much blood. It looked picked clean. Jenkins himself was odd when I stopped by to tell him. His usual chatty demeanor was gone, replaced by a blank stare and mumbled words. He had a nasty gash in his arm that he said he had got from barbed wire, but it looked more like a bite mark to me. I should have noticed how pale he was, how his skin had grayish tinge, but who expects worse, you know? The next morning, Jenkins wasn't at May's diner for his usual breakfast. May said he hadn't called to cancel his standing order of black coffee and wheat toast, something he hadn't missed in 15 years. Sheriff Cooper went to check on him, and hasn't been seen since. That's when the screaming started. I was at the warehouse store when we heard it, this horrible guttural shriek from the direction of the post office. Through the window, I saw Sarah Palmer, our mail carrier, running down Main Street. Behind her was... God, I still can't believe what I saw. It was Jenkins, but not Jenkins. His jaw was hanging at an impossible angle. It was moving wrong, like a marionette with tangled strings. The bite on his arm had turned black. Sarah didn't make it to the hardware store. I'm writing this from my basement now. I can hear them shuffling around outside. Jenkins, Sarah, the sheriff, and at least a dozen others. The radio's nothing but static, and the highway's been blocked by abandoned cars since yesterday. Cell phones are barely working, and the internet's spotty at best. I haven't been able to reach my sister in Seattle. The infection, or whatever it is, spreads fast. A bite is all it takes, and you've got about 6 hours before the fever hits. Then the confusion sets in, followed by aggression. Finally, the hunger. Always the hunger. Mayor Stevens tried to call the state police yesterday, but I don't think the message got through. The town's been effectively cut off since the late winter storm took out the bridge on Route 12 last week. Repairs were supposed to start Monday. Now I'm wondering if help will ever come. I've got enough supplies down here for maybe 2 weeks. The gun safe is secure, and I have my hunting rifle with plenty of ammo. Through the small basement window, I can see some of my neighbors' houses. Most are dark now. The Henderson's place has been burning since this morning. No fire trucks came. The shuffling outside is getting louder. They know I'm here. They always know. Something about them. They can sense the living. I've watched them ignore the dead animals in the street, but turn their heads in unison when Mrs. Peterson's cat moved in a window. I'll try to post updates if I can, but the connection's getting worse. If anyone sees this, please. We need help in Miller's Creek. And if you're reading this from somewhere else, watch the people around you carefully. Watch for the signs I missed. The pale skin, the vacant stares, the unexplained wounds. And whatever you do, don't let them bite you. I have to go now. Something's scratching at my basement door. Update to follow. It's been 36 hours since my last post. My phone says it's 3:47 a.m., but I'm not sure if that's right anymore. The power grid failed last night, and I've been running on my emergency generator. I have to be quick. The noise attracts them, and I can only run it for short bursts to charge my phone. The scratching at my basement door stopped eventually, but only because they found easier prey. I heard the screams from the Chen family next door around midnight. Their teenage son had been hiding in his treehouse. I saw the whole thing through my window. He tried to make a run for their car, but they caught him halfway across the yard. I had to shut my eyes, but I couldn't block out the sounds. There's something else you need to know about these things. They're learning. Yesterday morning, they would just shamble around, bumping into walls and cars. Now they're different. I watched Old Man Jenkins figure out how to use a rock to break through the Petersons' living room window. They're problem solving, adapting. The worst part? They remember things. Earlier today, I saw Sarah Palmer's remains, trying to sort through mail on the ground, mimicking her old route, and Sheriff Cooper's body keeps returning to his usual parking spot behind the diner, as if he's still watching for speeders on Main Street. It's like some horrible echo of who they used to be. I made radio contact with someone this morning. Derek, from the ranger station up on Mount Collins. He says the Forest Service roads are all blocked by snow from last week's storm. The spring thaw was supposed to clear them, but now. He also mentioned seeing strange lights in the sky last night, hovering over the old mining quarry. I told him he was being paranoid, but after what I've seen, I'm not sure of anything anymore. I had to leave my basement for supplies today. The shuffle-drag sound of their footsteps had grown distant, so I risked a run to Gorman's Market 2 blocks away. The store was a mess, but I managed to find some canned food and water. That's when I saw little Emma Davis. She was my daughter's best friend. They used to have sleepovers every weekend before the divorce, before my ex took our Katie to Portland. Emma was just standing there in the cereal aisle, her princess backpack still on, dried blood caking her blonde hair. When she turned, God, her eyes. They were clouded over, but somehow aware. She recognized me. She said my name, or tried to. The sound that came out wasn't human. I ran, and I'm not proud of it. But here's the thing that really keeps me awake. On my way back, I saw tracks in the mud near the quarry. They weren't human tracks, or animal tracks, or even whatever these things are called, tracks. They were perfect circles, about 3 feet in diameter, evenly spaced like something had walked through them on stilts. They led straight to the water treatment plant. The water. Come to think of it, everything started the day after the maintenance on the main water line. Jenkins's farm was the first to get the new connection. My throat feels dry just thinking about it. But I haven't touched tap water since this started. Been using bottled water for my emergency kit. Maybe that's why. Hold on. Something's happening outside. There's a light, like the one Derek described, moving over the town. It's too steady to be a helicopter, too low to be a plane. And the infected. They're all turning to watch it, moving together like they share one mind. Even Emma, who I can see through my neighbor's broken window, is standing perfectly still, face turned upward. The generator's about to die, and I don't dare run it again with that thing up there. I'll try to post again if anyone sees this, destroy the samples. I repeat, destroy the samples. My hands are shaking as I type this. The bite on my leg is starting to turn gray, and I can feel the fever setting in. I don't have much time, but people need to know what happened in Miller's Creek. After my last post, the light descended on the water treatment plant. It wasn't a UFO like I'd feared. It was worse. It was one of ours. A black helicopter with no markings, but I recognized the insignia on the hazmat suits. Monarch Pharmaceutical Solutions, the same company that won the contract to modernize our water treatment system 2 months ago. I watched from my basement window as they collected samples, not from the infected, but from the water supply. They knew exactly where to look. This wasn't an accident. We were the test site. I found the documentation. After I lost internet connection, I got desperate and broke into the water treatment plant through the maintenance tunnel. Most of the infected had followed the helicopter to the quarry, so the streets were clearer. Inside the plant, I discovered files left behind by the maintenance crew. Classified reports about Project Renaissance, an experimental compound designed to accelerate cellular regeneration. They were testing it here, in our water supply. Small town, isolated location, controllable variables. But something went wrong. The compound didn't just regenerate cells, it reanimated them after death. And it kept some fragment of memory intact, trapped in rotting flesh that refused to decay. Those weren't mindless zombies out there. They were our friends and neighbors, conscious but unable to stop their bodies from hunting the living. I took the photos of everything with my phone. I'm attaching them to this post. The GPS coordinates of the testing sites are included. Miller's Creek isn't the only town they're targeting. There are others marked for treatment once they perfect the formula. Places just like us. Small, isolated, expendable. The helicopter came back an hour ago. They're not here to save us. They're here to clean up their mess. I can hear explosions from the direction of Main Street. The air smells like chemicals. Sarah Palmer's infected form found me in the treatment plant. She was still wearing her mail carrier's uniform. Still had her mailbag. Even with her jaw missing, she tried to hand me a letter before the hunger took over. The bite isn't deep, but it doesn't need to be. I've barricaded myself in the plant's control room. Outside, I can see hazmat teams setting up incendiary devices. They're gonna burn Miller's Creek to the ground. Blame it on a forest fire. Clean, simple, no evidence. But they didn't get the samples I took. While they were setting up their equipment, I managed to mail them out. Multiple packages, different destinations. Sarah's last delivery. Even in death, she did her job. The fever is getting worse. My vision's blurring, but I can still hear them. The infected, my neighbors, my friends, they're screaming. Not with hunger anymore, but with pain. The chemicals are starting to work. To whoever finds these packages, expose them. Shows the world what they did to us. And to anyone living in a small town that seems too perfect, too quiet, check your water. Check your... God, the pain. I can feel it changing me. The hunger. I understand now. We stay conscious. We feel everything. We just can't... stop. I hear them breaking the door down. I don't have much time left. Remember Miller's Creek. Remember what they did to us. And whatever you do, don't drink the water. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that story. Come back next time for some more scary stories. And as always, remember to face your fears.